A new life awaits you in the off-world colonies. The chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure.
What's up, Flick Connection, and welcome back to Blade Runner Week, where today we're going to talk about whether or not Blade Runner and Alien actually take place in the same universe. Now, this is a long-time fan theory. This is not something I've invented, but I've researched it a lot and unpacked a lot of it, and there are tons and tons of similarities and comparisons that we can make. So let's just start off with the most obvious one, and that's Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott directed both the original Alien and Blade Runner, only a couple of years apart. In fact, Blade Runner was his first movie to take place after Alien, Alien being in 1979, and Blade Runner being in 1982. And both are considered masterpieces of sci-fi. They're two of his best movies in a long list of really good movies. So right there, they have a strong comparison, but it goes way, way deeper than that. And I want to start with Ridley Scott because he actually said something that sparks this entire thing. Whether or not it's the origin of it, I don't know, but this is what he said. While talking about the original Blade Runner, he said, quote, "So almost this world could easily be the city that supports the crew that go out in Alien. So in other words, when the crew of Alien come back in, they might go into this place and go into a bar off the street where Deckard lives. That's how I thought about it." Now right there, he's thinking about these two things as being in the same universe. Whether they actually are or not at that point, probably not, but they become more and more intertwined over decades. Another big comparison we can make is synthetic humans. Both properties have synthetic humans. In Blade Runner, it's the replicants, which are very, very similar to human beings. In fact, they're almost impossible to tell apart. In Alien, they have androids, droids basically, that are also hard to just tell with the naked eye and with your interactions with them, whether or not they're actually non-human. But rather than being like kind of filled with, replicated organs, they're filled with all sorts of like wires and pipes and milky oil. So they are very different, but you could make the same comparison between Android and Apple. They also have some other shared tech. A lot of the screens and things look very similar, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that they actually reused a lot of stuff when making Blade Runner. They reused a lot of the same screens, same technology, so that's a practical purpose. Both visions of the future seem to be dramatically controlled by huge corporations named after the last names of their founder. Tyrell Corp in Blade Runner, Wallace Corp in Blade Runner 2049, and then obviously Weyland in Alien. Now this goes a little further with the fact that Weyland is actually Weyland Yutani Corp, which hints that in the future America and Asian countries have strong ties. Now that's in Alien. Obviously, American culture and Asian culture have extremely, extremely strong ties in Blade Runner. That goes without saying. So there's sort of an interesting thing that doesn't really match up one-to-one, but there's something there. There's something to be said there. And the creators of both are acutely aware of this fan theory, and they've since fanned the flames. In Alien Covenant, there's a point where David is stabbed, and his quote immediately after being stabbed is, "That's the spirit."
That's the spirit.
The exact same line that Roy Batty had in Blade Runner.
That's the spirit!
So there's a little wink and a nod there that this might be true, but the creators have also hidden some stuff extremely deep, like really deep. Like I didn't even find these, I just had to find these on the internet. In DVD extras, and they're not even spoken. It's actually like text documents in some DVD extras. Now, one of these extras is actually from a 1999 DVD release of Alien, and in it there's a file that basically gives you information on the different crew members. And for Captain Dallas, it actually says that he once worked for Tyrell Corp, which is from Blade Runner. So there's an immediate tie right there, but that's created years after these were made. But you can tell where the creators are starting to sort of fan the flames on this theory, and they're literally stitching these two universes together, and they make perfect sense timeline-wise as well. We'll get into that in a second. In the Prometheus UK Blu-ray release, special edition DVD, there is another text document that is a transcript of a Weyland speech where he's talking about his mentor, and it expressly describes Tyrell from Blade Runner. Now, it doesn't name him directly, but he talks about him as wanting to live like a god, be the new gods, which is lines directly out of Tyrell's mouth. It references him living in the top of his pyramid, which is the top of the Tyrell building in Blade Runner. So it is a spot-on description, and he describes him as a mentor. And based on the timeline of things, this is where I get really nerdy with this. Based on the timeline, Weland is born in 1990. The original Blade Runner takes place in 2019, which is 1 year from today. But it's an alternate, future, an alternate timeline from Mars, rather. And that would have made him 29 years old at the time that Tyrell is killed by Roy Batty, which easily could have meant he could have been his mentor in his 20s, his early years of getting into business development. Tyrell could have been his mentor, and if he had been his mentor, his mentality would have directly, influenced the mentality we see with Weland in Prometheus specifically, where he's wanting to meet his creator, he's wanting to be a god, he's wanting his creator to grant him more life, exactly the same way that Roy Batty wanted his creator, Tyrell, to give him more life.
I want more life, Father.
But basically, what's the conclusion after all of this? I think it's pretty simple. They were created by the same guy. He had similar ideas and visions of the future at the same time. And yeah, they might not have expressly supposed to be together, but it worked because of that. And over time, they've allowed these things to sort of thread and meld together, which I think is even more interesting than if they made them pair up from the get-go. So I love that about it. I wish there was a way to sort of explore this further. However, I think if they ever made a movie that sort of explored the crossover between the two, I think they'd be shooting themselves in the foot. I think it'd probably be garbage. But a couple little hints like this every now and then are really fun. It's really interesting. Love both of these franchises. Thanks for watching, and you will see me next time.